Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something you use every single day, the code that powers pretty much every website you've ever visited. Yep, we're demystifying HTML. But before we get into all the code and the techie stuff, let's just stop and ask a really basic question. When you pull up a website, what are you actually looking at? Okay, probably the best way to wrap your head around this is to think of a website like a house. It's built with three really important layers. First up, you've got HTML. That's what we're talking about today. It's the structure, right? The foundation, the walls, the different rooms. Then there's CSS. That's all the decoration, the paint colors, the furniture, the style that makes it look good. And finally, you have JavaScript, or JS. That's the functionality. Think of it like the electricity and the plumbing that actually makes the house work. So here's our game plan for this explainer, our little level up journey. First, we'll figure out what HTML even is. Then you're going to build your very first web page. After that, we'll learn the language of tags, figure out how to structure a whole site, and finally, add some interactive stuff. You ready? Let's do this. All right, kicking things off with level 1, the what and why. We got to start with the absolute basics to make sure we have a really solid foundation to build on. So HTML, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. I know, that sounds kind of complicated, right? But let's just strip away the jargon. All it really is the standard language that tells your web browser, Chrome, Firefox, whatever you use, what to display on the screen and where to put it. You can almost think of it as the universal instruction manual for the entire web. Now, here's a really key point. HTML isn't what you'd call a typical programming language. It doesn't really do things. It's a markup language. Its whole job is to use these little things called tags to wrap around your content. It turns a boring block of text into things the browser understands, like headings, paragraphs, and links. It's literally the skeleton of every single site you see. Okay, level 2, let's get building. Enough talk, right? Theory is great, but now it's time to actually get our hands dirty and build our first web page. And believe it or not, you can get started in like less than 5 minutes. Seriously. First, you just need a code editor. A great free one is called VS Code. Go grab that. Then, just make a new folder somewhere on your computer for your project. Inside that folder, create a brand new file and name it index.html. And now, here comes the magic trick. In that totally blank file, just type a single exclamation mark and hit enter. Bam! All that code that just popped up out of nowhere, that's called boilerplate. And yeah, I know it might look a little intimidating at first, but don't worry about it. It's just the standard, universal starting template for every single HTML page on the planet. Going back to our house analogy, this is like the pre-built foundation and the frame, all set up and ready for us to start building the actual rooms. All right, on to level 3, the language of the web. We've got our file, our foundation is set. Now it's time to actually learn the language it speaks. And that is the language of tags. So what in the world is an HTML tag? You know, the easiest way to think about it is just a container. It's like a labeled box. You put your content inside the box, and that label on the outside tells the web browser exactly what kind of stuff is in there and how it should show it on the page. Simple as that. And pretty much all tags come in pairs. They have a very specific structure. You've got an opening tag, like this P you see here, which stands for paragraph. That's basically you telling the browser, hey, a paragraph is starting right now. Then you put your text, and after it, you have the closing tag. And look closely, the only difference is that forward slash. That little slash is super important. It signals to the browser, okay, we're done. The paragraph ends here. So let's see how this works in real life. If you want to create a big main heading for your page, you just wrap your text in H1 tags. And for a normal paragraph, you just use those P tags we just saw. See? You're just labeling each piece of your content so the browser knows what's what. Okay, so individual tags are great for little pieces of content, but a really well-built website needs a logical structure, right? Just like our house needs different rooms and floors, not just a pile of bricks. So it's time for level 4, building the blueprint. And the way we do this is with something called semantic tags. Now, these are just HTML tags whose names actually describe what they're for. They're not just generic boxes. Their names have meaning. They help create a really clear blueprint for your page, telling not just the browser, but also search engines like Google exactly what each section is all about. So why should you even care about this? Well, it matters for 3 huge reasons. First, it's amazing for SEO. It literally helps Google understand your content better, which helps you rank higher. Second, it's absolutely crucial for accessibility. It lets screen readers for visually impaired users understand and navigate your site properly. And third, honestly, it just makes your code so much cleaner and more logical. It's easier for other people and you, 6 months from now, to understand. So which ones do you need to know? Well, the first big one is the header tag. This is pretty much what it sounds like. It's for the top section of your page. Think of it as the entryway or the lobby of your house. It's where you'd usually put the company logo, the main navigation links, that kind of stuff. Next up, and this one is super important, is the main tag. This container holds the main, unique content for that specific page. This is the good stuff. It's the living room, the kitchen, it's the whole reason someone visited that page. And because of that, you should really only have one main element on each page. And then at the very bottom, we have the footer. Again, pretty self-explanatory. This is for the bottom section of your page. This is where you stick all that supplementary info like contact details, copyright notices, or links to your privacy policy. Okay, awesome. We've built a solid static structure. So now let's hit our pro level, adding features that actually make your page interactive. We're talking about how to collect information from your users. And we do this using HTML forms, which mostly rely on the super versatile input tag. Just by changing one little thing called its type, you can create all the different form fields you see online every day. For instance, type equals text gives you a simple box for a name or username. Type equals password does the same thing, but it hides the characters as you type. Type equals radio gives you those little circle buttons where you can only pick one option. And type equals submit. Well, that creates the submit button. And here's a quick look at how those pieces actually fit together in the code. The whole shebang is wrapped inside a form tag. Then you use a label to clearly describe what the input field is for, which, by the way, is amazing for accessibility. And finally, the input tag itself creates the actual box where the user types their stuff in. And that's really it. Seriously, congratulations. You've just learned the fundamental blueprint of the entire web. I'm not kidding. Every single website, from a massive company like Google down to the smallest personal blog, is built on these exact same principles you just learned. So your journey has just begun. You now have the foundational tool, the blueprint, to create literally anything you can imagine online. The only question left is, what are you going to build first?